Good morning, primary class. This is your lesson for Sunday in our story, A Runaway Slave Goes Home. Now, if you'll remember, last week we learned how Paul was shipwrecked on Malta, on the island of Malta, and all the people helped the ship get back out, get a new ship, and get provisions and all of that, and get back on the way to Rome. So at last, that ship that Paul was on arrived in a port in Italy. What a long trip it had been. But Rome was still 140 miles from where they landed, and Paul would have to walk all of those miles chained to one of the soldiers. Can you imagine? Before his last trip to Jerusalem, Paul had written a letter to the Christians in Rome so that they knew he was planning to visit them. But oh, how eager they were for him to get there. Paul had been eager to get to Rome too. He knew that there were so many people in the city who needed to learn about Jesus. But Paul wasn't a prisoner when he wrote that letter. He had not expected to go to Rome as a prisoner. How could he preach about Jesus while he was in prison? No wonder he felt sad. Besides, he was feeling very tired from the long, dangerous trip. But there was a happy surprise for Paul. A few Christians were living in the city where he landed, and they knew that Paul was coming. How thrilled they were to see him. They hadn't expected him to be chained as a prisoner, but that made them love him even more than ever. They begged him to stay with them for a few days. Julius, the kind centurion, liked Paul, so he kept his soldiers and the prisoners in the city for a whole week, just so Paul could be with his new Christian friends. Acts 28, verse 13 and 14 tell us about it. And from thence we fetched a compass and came to Rhegium. And after one day the south wind blew, and we came the next day to Puteoli, where we found brethren, and where we desired to tarry with them 7 days. So we went toward Rome. Now here's your question. Think about this. Was Paul ashamed of being a prisoner for the sake of Jesus? Can we be missionaries for Jesus no matter where we are or what happens to us? I think we